Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight to it. All right, so today's lesson is called Romans 10 and 19. Who is the foolish nation? All right, we're doing this lesson because there's a lot of confusion about who the foolish nation is in this verse here. Let's read it because it's going to make more sense when we actually get the verse. So let's read. Let's get verse 18 and then jump right into verse 19 here.
The book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 18. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses saith, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you.
All right. So, as I was saying, it says here, first Moses saith, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation will I anger you. All right. So what we have here is a no people and a foolish nation. And like I said, that's who, there's a lot of dispute in between who this foolish nation of people are. Some people think this is referring to the heathen nations, meaning all of the nations outside of the nation of Israel, which it says nation, but hey, we know how that is. But also, all at the same time, who this is really talking about is the quote unquote Gentiles, or the northern kingdom, aka the Samaritans, many different names, the 10 tribes that were scattered out of the land. But it's very easy to get confused by that, because it says it only says foolish nation here. So we're about to jump into it and get the full context here. If y'all ride with me on this, it's going to make perfect sense, I believe, at least in my opinion. But let's get it here. Let's get Romans chapter 11 and verse 11 here.
The book of Romans chapter 11 and verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
All right. So it says, how they stumble that they should fall. God forbid. But rather through their fall is come into the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. Now we're seeing a lot of the same wording here. So what we know is there's one people that are jealous. As we just saw here, that there is going to be a people that were provoked to jealousy by people that are no people. So we got a no people, we got a foolish nation, and we got a jealous nation, or a jealous people. So we need to find out who these people are referring to so we can understand what this verse is actually talking about. First, let's get who this jealous nation is. All right. But in order to do that, we need to go all the way back to the beginning. All right, because I made the claim that the foolish nation were the 10 tribes called the northern kingdom, but the jealous people are those other 2 tribes called the southern kingdom, or the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. But let's prove that, though. And again, to prove that, we got to kind of go all the way back here, and then we're going to bring it full circle. So just a quick recap. We should all know this, but just for a quick recap, y'all just stay with me. Let's get First Chronicles chapter 2 and verse 1.
The book of First Chronicles chapter 2 and verse 1. These are the sons of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun.
All right, so these are the tribes, or the sons of Israel. All right, it says right here, genealogy, 12 sons of Jacob, or Israel. Jacob and Israel are the same man that started the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's get verse 2.
Verse 2, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher.
All right. So 12 sons of Israel, that's 12 tribes. 12 tribes brought forth by these 12 sons here. All right. So keep that in mind. 12 tribes, 12 sons. Okay. Because this is the key to figuring out what Paul was referring to in Romans 10 and 19. So we got to keep that in mind. Now let's get 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 31.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 31. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and I will give 10 tribes to thee.
Okay. Now, long story short, we've done a lesson on this, but long story short, Israel at the time of King Solomon, King Solomon went into sin. Okay, we know the sin that he did, of course, following other gods because of his strange women. So because of that, you have 10 of those tribes that we just got, 10 of those tribes taken out of his kingdom. Let's keep going.
Verse 32. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel.
Okay, so that one tribe is referring to the tribe outside of their tribe, which is the tribe of Judah, which is the same tribe that Christ is a part of. That's the tribe of Judah. So you got 2 tribes separated from the rest of the 10 tribes here. All right. And that's really the main point that I wanted to get there. We could keep going, but that's really the main point. Actually, let's get 34 and 35.
Good. Verse 34. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David, my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes.
So again, this is because of sin that this kingdom was split. And because of David and his good works, it's not happening right now, but it's going to happen. Let's keep going.
Verse 35. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and I will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes.
Okay, so now we're starting to see that split, all right, of the kingdom. Everybody knows King David, everybody knows King Solomon. During King Solomon's reign, because of his sin, you had the 10 tribes split away from the other 2 tribes. This is the beginning of what we call the northern and southern kingdom. Okay, again, this is a key to figuring out what Paul was referring to, because the Bible is like one long history book. Okay, the New Testament is not separate from the Old Testament. So you can't get in this thing thinking Paul talking about something completely different. I mean, even in this verse, in this chapter here, what does the first verse say? Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. Why did he not talk about other nations of people right here? Why did he not say my prayer to God is for the Hamites that they might be saved? All right, you got to think about that. Now, let's get 2nd Esdras chapter 13 and then verse 40.
The book of 2nd Esdras chapter 13 and verse 40, and it reads, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanazar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
Oh man, so you have the 10 tribes that we talked about that got separated. They were carried away prisoners out of their own land. Okay, so that 10 tribes that got split because of sin, they got carried away out of the land of what? The land of Israel. Okay, by the Assyrians. That's a nation of people, basically heathens. Okay, so they were carried out of the land. Let's keep going.
Verse 41, but they took this counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
So they're doing their own thing, basically. Okay. So this is a major part of Israelite history, which is Bible history, it's biblical history, that if you don't understand, pretty much all of the quote unquote New Testament is going to fly right over your head. You have to understand this, that those 10 tribes of Israel were taken away out of the land. And why are we even talking about Israel? I thought I had this verse pulled up, but let's just get this real quick. No, I did have it pulled up. I just skipped it. Let's get Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. This is the same chapter of this verse we just read. So let's get Romans chapter 11 and verse 1.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 11 and verse 1. I say then, have the Most High cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
The tribe of Benjamin. This is why we're talking about Israelites in the first place, because Paul was an Israelite. All right, he's talking about his own history, which we're proving right now. So this is why it's important. That's why we've been talking about what happened with the 12 tribes and the 10 tribes being separate. All right, because he's professing this himself. All right, a lot of people, especially in the quote unquote church system, I guess they just skip past this, man. I don't want to talk about it, but it's right here. It's in a book, one of the books that they like to go to. So we got to deal with it. But anyway, now let's get back to the main point here. I don't want to lose the point. So let's get Romans chapter 10 and verse 29 one more time.
The book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 19. But I say,
my bad. Yeah, verse 19.
But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses saith, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you.
So we're about to bring this full circle again. Remember I said that the jealous people were those 2 tribes. Why? Because they stayed in the land. The 10 tribes that got separated because of sin, they were cast out of the land of Israel. Okay. But now we're about to talk about why these people were provoked to jealousy. When I say these people, those 2 tribes, mainly because some of it was mixed in, but mainly you have the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. As we see, Paul was, is a part of the tribe of Benjamin. So it's relevant information to go into. Now let's get John chapter 3 and verse 1.
The book of John, chapter 3 and verse 1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews.
We getting this real quick just to show that the Pharisees were Jews. What are Jews? Jews are just short for Judah. That's one of the 2 tribes that stayed in the land. So stay with me. You got 2 tribes stayed in the land of Israel, and you got 10 tribes that were split away because of sin. This is major history to understand. Now you got the Pharisees, which were a part of Christ, a part of Yahushua's own people, his own tribe, that were Jews. Okay, these are the people that I'm making a claim that they are the jealous people that Paul was referring to. So let's get more on this to prove that. Let's get Matthew chapter 21 and verse 42.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 21 and verse 42. Yahushua saith unto them, did ye never read the scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes.
Okay, so Yahushua is that stone which the builders rejected. Okay, but to get to the point, let's go to verse 43.
Verse 43. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of the Most High shall be taken from you and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof.
Okay, so don't let this go over your head here. It says the kingdom of God shall be taken from you. Who is you? We established that those are the Jews, and of course the other tribe that was given, which is the tribe of Benjamin, the southern kingdom. So because Yahushua is matter of fact, let's keep going to 44 and 45, then we'll get back to that point.
Verse 44. And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder.
Mhm.
And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parable, they perceived that he had spake of them.
Uh-oh. The chief priests and Pharisees, which chief priests are also part of the southern kingdom as well, they perceived that he spake of them. That's who Yahushua was talking to. The Pharisees and chief priests, which are a part of those two tribes. Okay. So now we know that Yahushua or Christ is talking to those two tribes. Now let's see what he says again in verse 43. Let's get that one more time.
Verse 43. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of the Most High shall be taken from you and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof.
This is actually the same thing that Paul is talking about. Okay. I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation will I anger you. This is the same thing. Given into a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. This is the same no people or the foolish nation that Paul was talking about. Okay. So it's the same thing. And even here too, it says, whomsoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken. But on whomever it shall fall, where do we read that at? Let's get Romans 11:11.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 11 and verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall?
Slack, you see that? The same word play was used here. Whom and whomsoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken. But on whomsoever it shall fall, same thing that Paul said here. Have they stumbled that they should fall? This is referring to the southern kingdom. Okay, they are the ones that fell. Why? Because they killed their own Messiah, or at least had their own Messiah killed. You know, Christ dying, that was one of the biggest displays of quote unquote black on black crime in history. You understand? It was his own people that sent him up, that delivered him up to be destroyed, to be killed. Okay, that's how they fell. That's the southern kingdom's fall. All right, but through their fall, salvation is come to the Gentiles, meaning the northern kingdom, those other 10 tribes. That's why they were provoked to jealousy. Okay, they were mad because they were in the land the whole time. The 10 tribes had got taken out of the land for a good 700 years. They weren't keeping any laws. They didn't even know the Most High. But then they came back and they were receiving the same treatment as those that had been in the land keeping the laws all that time. That made them jealous. But let's prove that though. Let's prove all of that. Let's prove it. All right, let's get Matthew chapter 27 and verse 11.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 27 and verse 11. And it reads, and Yahushua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, art thou the king of the Jews? And Yahushua said unto him, thou sayest.
You said it. You said it. So you saying I'm the king of the Jews? Because again, Yahushua is a Jew. A Jew is just short for Judah, meaning the tribe of Judah, one of the 12 sons of Israel. Okay, let's keep going.
Verse 12. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing.
Not a mumbling word. Okay.
Then said Pilate unto him, hearest thou now, Slakia, hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee?
Keep going.
And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly.
Okay. So now let's get verse, because we pretty much, this is self-explanatory what happened. We know what happened with Yahushua before he died. He wasn't even answering them back. We know that. So let's get the point here in verse 17.
Verse 17. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you? Barabbas, or Yahushua, which is called Christ.
Keep going.
For he knew that for envy they had delivered him.
For what?
For he knew that for envy they had delivered him.
These are the Pharisees, the chief priests, the southern kingdom, envious, provoked to jealousy. You understand? Paul is talking about the same thing that Yahushua talked about, the same thing that he witnessed, the same, it's all coming together. Okay, so let's get Romans chapter 10 and 19 again.
Book of Romans chapter 10 and verse 19. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses saith, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you.
When he says you provoke you, he's talking about the southern kingdom provoked to jealousy by them that are no people. That's referring to the other tribes that were cast out of the land. It's pictured like you have a big family, but one side of the family is beefing with the other side of the family, but they still are family. They don't even consider each other family at that point. Like, yeah, you my cousin, but you know, you ain't nothing to me. Or anybody you could say that to. You may be this, but you nothing to me. Even somebody, could say that about their father or whatever the case is, mother, depending on the situation. But that doesn't change that they are, at least by blood, related to you, by whatever they are to you. You understand? That's the same thing that's going on here. It's not talking about heathen nations. Okay? The whole Bible is all, one continuous story, just a history book. Well, not just a history book. Well, brothers know what I mean. I mean that from a standpoint, it is a history book filled with prophecy and instruction. You understand? But it all comes together. So now let's get a parable. Yahushua also proved this. So let's get this parable in Matthew 20.
From the top.
From the top,
the book of Matthew, chapter 20, from the top. For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard.
Okay. So you have a man that's a householder. All right. And then he's hiring laborers to work in the vineyard. Let's keep going.
And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard.
So the laborers, the workers, they agree to work for a penny a day. Now they go forth into the vineyard. Let's keep going.
And he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace.
Okay, keep going.
And said unto them, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, I will give you. And they went their way.
All right, so now you have other workers. Okay. They also, they about to work in the vineyard as well. Now, we're going to skip down a little bit here, but the point is that you had other workers that came in later on in the day. You at the start of the day, the first workers are saying, yeah, I agreed to work for a penny a day. And then you have workers that came in later that made the same agreement. Now let's see what happened here. Let's skip down to verse 8.
Verse 8. So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard saith unto his steward, call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first.
Okay, because you're supposed to get paid for your work really every day. That's how it's supposed to be biblically, but now it's time for everybody to get paid. Let's keep going.
Verse 9. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny.
So everybody received a penny, no matter if they started at the beginning of the day or in the 11th hour. They still received a penny. So in that 11th hour, they only worked 1 hour, but they still received a penny, the same for those that have been working the whole day, essentially. So let's keep going.
Verse 10. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a penny.
So they like, I worked longer. Why did I get more than dude that just came up in here? Because you would think like that now in today's, most of today's wages are paid by the hour. So, if you go and work 1 hour, you don't expect to get paid the same as if you work 11. And if somebody get paid the same, you're like, hold up, he only been in here 1 hour. But let's keep going.
Verse 11. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house.
Keep going.
Saying, these last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and heat of the day.
So you making them, they getting paid the same as us, but we've been out here in the sun. Let's keep going.
Verse 13. But he answered one of them and said, friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny?
So you coming to the Lord of the house and saying, why didn't I get paid more? I've been working longer. But didn't you agree to work for that penny a day? Even though those came in longer, they agreed to the same thing. So there was no wrong here because you got paid according to what you agreed to. If you sign up for $10 an hour, you can't get mad that you didn't get paid 12. Or if if you supposed to work 40 hours per week and you work less, whatever scenario you want to bring up, but y'all get the point here. All right. So last verse, let's skip to verse 15.
Verse 15. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own? Is thine eye evil because I am good?
So there was no evil done. And why are we even talking about this? This represents, at least in one instance here, it represents the northern and southern kingdom. Like I said, you had the 10 tribes scattered away out of the land. This took place around 722 BC. So when Yahushua came on the scene, that's around what we would call today around, year 1, essentially, so this is like 700 years plus that you have the 10 tribes out of the land, but they're receiving the same promise for the kingdom as the 2 tribes that's been there the whole time. So they feel like, we've been here the whole time. We've been keeping the laws. You just let them come in. They haven't even been keeping the laws. They ain't been doing nothing. But now they come in and they can get the kingdom too. That's what provoked them to jealousy. Okay, that's the southern kingdom here that was provoked to jealousy by them that are no people. But now we're going to get who the no people are and who the foolish nation is. Because now we've already kind of went through here and proved that the jealous, the envious was the southern kingdom, and why they were envious, why they were mad. All right, they was mad at Yahushua. They was mad at the quote unquote gentiles, which is they're all Israelites. Now, since on Romans 10 and 19, it says first Moses saith. So let's see what Moses saith, right? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 21.
It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
See, Paul got all of his prophecies from the quote unquote Old Testament. So if you agree to not keep the Old Testament, you also likewise agreeing not to keep the New Testament, because that's where all the prophecies came from. But anyway, because this is the same verse here, essentially, this is where Paul got it from. But we see here that this was already prophesied, that you will have a people provoked to anger by a foolish nation. Now, the first thing that we're going to focus on is this part that says no people. What does no people mean? Because we've been reading this, but we haven't gotten it yet. What is a no people? What does that even mean? Let's get Hosea chapter 2 and verse 23.
The book of Hosea chapter 2 and verse 23. And it reads, and I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, thou art my people, and they shall say, thou art my God.
Okay, so you have a people that's called not my people. Why are they called not my people? Because they were taken out of the land. They start following their own ways and their own customs. That makes you no people. That makes you a not people. Not literally speaking, but spiritually speaking. Again, it's like you not even, if you have a family member that double cross you in any type of way, you wouldn't even feel that same connection to them, even though they are your family. You understand? That's the same thing that's going on here, where we spiritually, the 10 tribes, and of course the 2 tribes went off as well. But you have the 10 tribes that went into so much sin that they disregarded the Most High so much that they were regarded as a no people. You understand? For time's sake, let's jump right into verse 10, Isaiah. Salak. Every time I say these the chapters seem like I'm going off, but let's get Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people.
Slide. The children of Israel, it shall said, so like it shall be said, I'm blaming on the Invisalign. It shall be said to them, ye are not my people. You are a no people. It's talking about the children of Israel. It's not talking about heathens. It's not talking about those that never even heard the law, heard the word in the first place. It's talking about the children of Israel that will be told that they are not a people. When they leave the land, and also right now. All right, the children of Israel are told that they're not God's children, but they are. All right, who is God's children? Our people, the so-called black man and woman here in this captivity. All right, keep going.
Ye are not my people. There it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
You know, what happened before, it will happen again, like we already know. That is prophesied to happen. So it's the same thing happening now. Our people are waking up and realizing who they are. You understand? We told that we're not a people. Now we're realizing that we are the sons of the living God. Okay? That's all that's going on here. It's not talking about heathen nations. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 33 and verse 24.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 33 and verse 24. And it reads, considereth thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the 2 families which the Lord hath chosen, he hath even cast them off.
So like the 2 families, that's the northern and southern kingdom. That's why it says this here. This is not a coincidence or typo or nothing like that. There's a reason why you constantly see, you know, this splitting off being discussed, because it was a major part of the Bible. It's a major part of understanding what's going on. That's the 2 families. Let's keep going.
Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them.
A no people. A no people. Jeremiah is saying the same thing that Paul said. The same thing that Hosea wrote about. Okay, the same thing that Yahushua talked about. They're all on one accord. Now, if this doesn't further prove that, I don't know what will. Let's get Sirach, chapter 50 and verse 25.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 50 and verse 25. There be 2 manner of nations which my heart abhorreth, and the third is no nation.
2 manner of nations which my heart abhorreth. Who is this talking about right here? Let's get verse 26.
Verse 26. They that sit upon the mountains of Samaria, and they that dwell amongst the Philistines, and that foolish people that dwell in Sichem.
Okay, so when it says here 2 manner of nations and the third is no nation, this is the same thing as saying no people, because nation essentially is people. Even in, you know, this verse, when you look up the word people here, it also says tribe and people. So it's the same thing. a company, swarm, troop, a multitude, a human family, a tribe, a nation, people. A third is no nation, a no people, a no nation, same thing. Paul was talking about the same people. Who is this? The mountain of Samaria? These are all talking about the Samaritans, aka the northern kingdom. But we about to prove that though. We about to prove all of this. All right. Because this right here is just pretty much telling you exactly what Romans chapter 10 and verse 19 is talking about, and also Romans 11 and 11. But let's get it. Let's focus on the word foolish here, because we keep seeing the word foolish. A foolish nation. We just saw it here in Sirach chapter 50. All right. The foolish people, or the foolish nation, because it's the same word that dwell in Shechem. Let's get Psalms chapter 53 and verse 1. Again, we're focused on the word foolish. What does that even mean? Let's get it.
Book of Psalms chapter 53 and verse 1. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God.
Salat. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. So when you see the word foolish, it's not always referring to like a foolish act, like you did something that is foolish. It's actually a lot of times referring to you being godless. You're not believing in the Most High. That's what it is to be foolish, because if you can open up your eyes and you can see and you don't believe in the Most High, you're a fool. You understand? That's what the word foolish means. So you had these people that got taken out of the land, these 10 tribes that no longer believed in the Most High because they didn't have his word anymore. They were following other customs. That makes them a no people and a foolish nation that provoked the southern kingdom into jealousy. All right. The word foolish that was used in Psalms chapter 53 here is Nabal, which says foolish, senseless, fool. It says right here in Strong's definition, stupid, wicked, especially impious. Now let's get that definition real quick. Baba Kasha.
Impious, not showing respect or reverence, especially for a God.
Not showing respect or reverence, not keeping the statute, laws, and commandments. That makes you impious or foolish. You understand? This is talking about the northern kingdom. It wouldn't be talking about the other nations because they never followed the laws anyway. They've been foolish. You don't call somebody for doing stuff that they already do. All right, you see a dog barking, that's just what you used to. All right. It's only some strange if you see him doing a meow. Then you'll be like, oh, what type of dog is this? All right, but the other nations, they never had the law to begin with. So this is referring to those that had the law, that forsook the law, and then came back once they realized who they were. You understand? Let's get Psalms chapter 107 and 17.
It's Book of Psalms, chapter 107 and verse 17. And it reads, fools, because of their transgression and because of their iniquities, are afflicted.
Because of their transgression. Transgression of what? The law. What is transgression of the law? It's a sin. That makes you a fool. You understand? Let's get Proverbs 10 and 8.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 10 and verse 8. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall.
Shall fall. Same word there too. Same word there too. But just on the point, the wise in heart will receive commandments. Following the statute, laws, commandments of the Most High is a wise thing. That's wisdom. You understand? But falling away, not keeping the Most High statute, laws, commandments makes you a fool. If you don't have reverence for the Most High, that makes you a fool. Only a fool will say in their heart that there is no God after they have all of this proof right there in their face every single day that they can't explain on their own. There's a lot of people that say there is no God, but then they can't tell you what actually happened. They can only give you a theory. You sound like the foolish one to me. You understand? So that's why you see a foolish nation. That's why it says that, because it was a people that had the law but forsook the law. Okay, so these words are not used for no reason. You got to actually kind of, dive into this thing. Now, I keep saying that they had the laws, but they forsook the law. So let's prove that. Let's get Romans chapter 2 and verse 13.
Book of Romans chapter 2 and verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before the Most High, but the doers of the law shall be justified.
Wait, you mean to tell me you can't just hear the law and then you straight? Read that one more time.
For not the hearers of the law are just before the Most High, but the doers of the law shall be justified.
Hey, man, you can't just talk about it. You got to do it.
That's right.
Okay. All right. We're not here to just look at this thing and just hear and then do whatever we want to do. That's not how this works. You understand? But let's get the next verse.
Verse 14. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law,
Salak, that makes them foolish. They did not have the law. Keep going.
do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves.
So they kept the law. They are starting to keep the law, and they didn't even have the law. How is that, though? How did that happen? Let's keep going.
Verse 15, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another.
Okay, that's how they did it, because it was written in their hearts, because they had already received the law way back in Mount Sinai by Moses. All right. So they had it in their hearts, in their spirit. That's what that really is going into. They had it in their spirit to keep the law, but it had to be brought back out through faith. You understand? Even though they weren't in a land to keep the law, they didn't have the law. Just like right now, we call ourselves Americans, Africans, Brazilians, whatever, you want to throw out there. African Americans, Black, all right, Hispanic, all of these different bywords, that's not your nationality. But you were given a law. That's how you can come back to it. It's probably why you listen to this right now. All right. Let's get Psalms chapter 147 and verse 19.
The book of Psalms, chapter 147 and verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Those are those 12 tribes that received the word, his statutes and his judgments. Okay, let's keep going.
He have not dealt so with any nation.
What?
And he has not dealt so with any nation.
So this can't be talking about another nation when it says a foolish nation, because they were never dealt with. Let's keep going. A slide. Keep on.
And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
They never known them, and they still don't know them right now. That's why they have no plans on ever keeping the statute, laws, and commandments. You go down there to India if you want to and try to tell them not to keep their holy days or not to worship their gods. They'll look at you like you dumb, man. You go down there in Africa and try to take that bamboo between their mouth or whatever they doing out there, eating and hunting water buffaloes. And you could tell them, no, brother, that's not your language. If you want to, they're going to tell you to get up out of there if you're not executed. They never knew the judgments. They never knew the statute, laws, commandments. That's okay, because it's not for them. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. So it's all good, because the Bible is only written for these 12 tribes that we've been talking about. Okay, but the 10 tribes that were separated, they had it in their hearts. You understand? They had it in their hearts, but they were taken out of the land and they went off. Okay, it's like a family member, again, going back to a family member, because these are family members. It's like a family member that went off, maybe went and got on some drugs. He or she got on drugs. Then they got clean. That's what happened with the Northern Kingdom here. That's what you read about. That's what Paul was talking about. Jeremiah, Isaiah, so on and so forth. Yahushua. Okay, because it said the law was written in their hearts. For the sake of time, let's just actually go straight into it. Let's get Hebrews 8 and 10.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 8 and verse 10. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts.
Write them in their hearts. Okay, this is referring to the house of Israel, also the house of Judah. No other nation you will ever see in the Bible talked about in the same manner. Pull whatever verse, pull whatever chapter, let's get into it, and I guarantee you it's not there. Let's keep going.
And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people.
Why do you have to say you shall be to me a people if you were already a people at the time that this prophecy is going to come into fulfillment? Because right now, they're considered a no people. At this time that Paul was writing this, they were just coming back. Before that, they were considered a no people. This is just history repeating itself. They found each other, now they didn't went off again. When I say they, I'm just referring to those people at the time, because as a people, we all went off. So it's just history repeating itself. Okay. Now, we're about to touch on Samaria, because right here in Sirach chapter 50, it says here, you know, the two manner nations which my heart abhorreth, and they sit upon the mountain of Samaria. There's something very important that you have to understand about the Bible too. This northern and southern kingdom, there's 10 tribes, the 2 tribes, the foolish people and the jealous people, they were at a heavy beef with each other, okay? They were considered just 2 completely separate people, even though they were the same stock, all right? It's very important to understand that. For the sake of time, it says here, Yahushua goes to Galilee. So let's skip down to verse 5 here.
The book of John, chapter 4, verse 5. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of the ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph.
Now, Yahushua went to the city of Samaria in Sychar. Now, let's see what happens here. For the sake of time, brothers can read this on their own time. Brothers and sisters read this on their own time. But let's start at verse 7.
Verse 7. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahushua saith unto her, give me to drink.
Okay, verse 9.
Verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealing with the Samaritans.
The Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Why is this? Why is that? You know, you can read something like this and just think it's a coincidence and, you know, it's something small. No, this is a major part of the Bible, understanding this. Okay, the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Like I just stated, even her with Yahushua, him being a Jew, are part of that southern kingdom, those 2 tribes, the jealous people, the people that got provoked to jealousy. Even she knew that they had beef with the no people, all right? The northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, okay? Because again, they were considered 2 separate people because they weren't keeping the laws. The 2 tribes that are the jealous people, they were, you know, they were in the word. At least they thought they were. Not in true righteousness, but they liken themselves to be in the word. And then you have the other people, man, they ain't even doing right. That's like if you have one side of the family that's doing what they need to do, and the other side of the family ruining off everybody. You just count them out. That's what this is here. Northern Kingdom got counted out. Now let's look at some definitions here. Let's bring this all together. All right. Let's look at some definitions here for Samaria. Let's look at the outline of biblical usage. Read 1a here.
Samaria, 1a, the region of northern Palestine associated with the northern kingdom of the 10 tribes of Israel.
Salat. So Samaria is associated with the northern kingdom of the 10 tribes of Israel. You see here, it's the same thing that we read. Those 10 tribes. that got separated. The Bible links all the way up. Okay, this is not random information that the scriptures give you. All right, it's so that you can follow the history and you understand everything. So you can read John chapter 4 and just think the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. It's a light thing, but this is a deep thing going on here. All right, keep going.
Which split from the kingdom after the death of Solomon during the reign of his son Rehoboam, and were ruled by Jeroboam.
Okay, now B.
B, the capital city of the northern kingdom of Israel, located 30 miles, 50 kilometers north of Jerusalem, and 6 miles, 10 kilometers northwest of Shechem.
Of Shechem. We read that. We just read that here. Of Shechem. This right here is Shechem. So this is referring to the northern kingdom. Okay, Samaria, and the reason why that you had Christ, or at least this woman of Samaria, meaning a woman of the northern kingdom of those 10 tribes, the reason you have her say that is because, again, they were beefing. Okay, that's how they were provoked to jealousy by people that were their own people. They were Israelites too, but they had no dealings with them. All right, it gets deep how much they have dealings with them too. When you really get into the history, you have one of the Maccabees. He actually destroyed the Samaritan kingdom. Okay. I don't think I got that pulled up or nothing, but it's all good. Trust me, they were beefing. Just look at, well, don't trust me. Look it up yourself. All right. So now let's get this right here was the Hebrew definition of Samaria. Now let's get the Greek definition of Samaria here. All right. And which part do we need? I got this highlighted here. Just read that highlighted part there.
A lot.
Con.
What's on that Strong's for it?
This one right here?
Yeah.
G4540.
All right. I got it.
Con. All right. And I'll make sure I say at the top a little bit longer on that. All right. So Baba Kashai, you can read this part right here that I already got highlighted.
Khan, who deported the 10 tribes of Israel and supplied their place with other settlers.
Okay, so Samaria, the city built by the Omri, king of Israel, by Omri, the king of Israel, on a mountain of the same name, situated in the tribe of Ephraim. That's one of the 12 tribes. Okay, so the Samaritans are Israelites, part of those 10 tribes, the no people that we've been talking about. Okay. Oh, this is what I was talking about right here. It was utterly destroyed after this restoration. It was utterly destroyed by John Rankinus. Whatever the brother name was, he destroyed the kingdom. Look, they were beefing pretty tough. The northern and southern kingdom were, and they were the same people. Okay. So Samaria was actually the capital of the northern kingdom. They don't talk about this because they don't want you to link all this up together. Okay, they want you to think that Samaritans just random old people. They're not. They're Israelites.
A lot.
I
just real quick, they got ancient maps that show Samaria being the capital as well. Just something that brothers can look up in their own time.
Exactly. That's very true. So you can see that very easily. The reason that we're not on the mindset to look these things up is because in the church system, they talk about it like it's a light thing. They act like it's nothing, but then it really is. Anyway, we got the point here in John chapter 4. This woman of Samaria that a lot of people know about. This was an Israelite, and it says that the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. That's why she said Jews. Okay. And even further down here, it says, "Art thou greater than our father Jacob?" She's acknowledging that they are both of the same people. They're both Israelites. Our father Jacob or Israel. Okay, that's how nations are made, by forefathers. You have men in the scriptures that they started whole nations. Right now, we don't have men that start whole nations, but that's how we got to where we are today. Our father Jacob. It's clear. You just got to pay attention a little bit here. Now, let's kind of bring this on home, though. Okay, let's bring this on home. Now, what we have here in verse 5, let's get that real quick. John chapter 4 and verse 5.
The book of John, chapter 4 and verse 5. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of the ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph.
Now let's get this definition of this word Sychar here. And when I say definition, this is basically it's called a concordance. It's basically words and further definitions of words used here in the English in the original language that was written in. Now let's get this definition or this concordance definition for the word Sychar here. The Greek, okay, that's G4965, Sychar in the Greek. It says drunken. Probably another name for the town is Shechem, what we read about in Shechem. Okay. A town of Samaria near the well of Jacob or Israel. Now, one thing that I want us to go into here, it says here of the word drunken, and thus call it abode of, in this Greek word, see Sirach 50:26. Even they telling us, the scholars telling us to go here. They don't tell you that though in the church system. This is Sirach 50:26. This is what the so-called white scholars even telling us, that this links up to the same people. But here's the part here though. Look at this. And thus call it the abode of what? This Greek word here. Let's open a new tab. Abode of what? Foolish. Okay, the same word, the foolish nation. The Samaritans, aka the northern kingdom, the Israelites. Those are the foolish nations. Okay, it was called the abode of foolish, godless, impious people, because they forsook the law of the Most High. That's why you had them beefing in the first place. Okay, it's right there. You can't get around that, because even the so-called white scholars is telling you that. And when it says drunken, that's another similitude of going off, being drunken. All right, just like Isaiah talked about. It's the same thing. That's a dagger right there. All right. That definition is a dagger, because it proves without a shadow of doubt that Paul was talking about the Samaritans, aka the northern kingdom, are those 10 tribes. All right, that got separated out of the land. He wasn't talking about any heathens, man. He was talking about Israelites. You understand? Now, the only thing we haven't talked about yet is, why does it say a foolish nation? Because that can be confusing. Why does it say, foolish 10 tribes or whatever the case is? Let's go into that, because again, remember, this word nation just means people as well. But let's get there real quick in Genesis chapter 35 and verse 10 through 11.
The book of Genesis, chapter 35 and verse 10. And the Most High said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel.
Con.
And the Most High said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins.
So Israel, aka the man that began the 12 tribes of Israel, who this entire book is even about, was prophesied to have a nation and a company of nations, even a foolish nation that would spring forth from his loins. Okay, that's why it says nation here. It just means people or tribes. Okay, let's get Ezekiel, for the sake of time, let's get Ezekiel chapter 37, and then we actually just gonna ride out with verse 22.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37 and verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations.
They shall not be what?
They shall be no more two nations.
Two nations. They were separated. You had the 10 tribes, and then you had the 2 tribes. You had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, the foolish nation and the jealous nation. But it's all talking about the same people that's going to be under one king, that king being Yahushua. That's going to be king of them all, meaning both nations. Keep going.
Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all.
So it's not going to be any more beef. It's not going to be any more northern and southern kingdom. It's going to be one kingdom. The tabernacles of David being restored, just like you read about in Acts the 15th chapter, or in Amos the 9th chapter. All right. Let's get Acts chapter 10 and verse 28.
The book of Acts, chapter 10 and verse 28. And he said unto them, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High have showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Acts
10 is not telling you to eat shrimp, crabs, and lobster. Knock it off. It was a parable for people. This verse right here actually lines up directly with what we read in John chapter 4. Let's get John chapter 4 and verse 9.
Book of John chapter 4 and verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jew have no dealings with the Samaritans.
The Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. The Jew is not, it's an unlawful thing to keep company with another nation. What is another nation? The Samaritans, the northern kingdom. It's all the same thing. This is all this has been talking about the entire time. Okay, and then when you go into this definition here, it's further proof here too. If you look at another nation, it just means another tribe. So a Jew is unlawful, at least from the laws that they had in their land. It's not in the Most High's laws. You understand? Because that wasn't the Most High's work. Let me just say that too. When you look into Strong's definitions here, it's plain. Another or other tribe. In the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob or Israel, a nation people, another nation, another tribe, one of the 12 tribes. That's what Acts 10 was about. That's what Romans 10 and 19 are about. That's what Romans 11 and 11 is talking about. It's all talking about the same people. Okay. And that's about it. So if you still, believe after all of this proof, you still believe that this is referring to heathen nations, then, what I don't really know what to say to you, just to be honest. That's pretty much it. Just quick recap before we close. Let's get Romans chapter 10 and verse 19 one more time.
Book of Romans chapter 10 and verse 19. But I say, did not Israel know? For Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people.
Salak, you have the southern kingdom provoked to jealousy. They are mad that the northern kingdom came in after being gone from the land all this time. They came in and were brought back into the faith by them that were considered no people. I mean, you weren't reckoned as a people. You were considered no people. You were considered not important anymore. You considered a Gentile. Okay, keep going.
And by a foolish nation will I anger you.
A godless nation, a nation without the laws, like we read about in Romans chapter 2. Okay, so southern and northern kingdom beef, that's what's going on here. And that's pretty much it. They're all Israelites. And you have the definitions here, you have the scriptures here that all line up on one accord. So, if you still not with it, then it's, you know, hey, that's on you. But it is what it is. That's all I got. Shalom.